Hello, TC3 family. I have decided to test out the Facebook Live jazz and see how we can utilize it with TC3. One of the things we've been thinking a lot about is how are we engaging and interacting with our TC3 family. And so we really wanted to try to use the Facebook Live platform to help us to, provide some messages that will either inform or inspire, uplift, or motivate you. Okay. And so just to kind of give you a brief introduction for those of you who may be new to TC3. TC3 is short for Thomasville Counseling, Consulting, and Coaching, and we are a comprehensive practice located in Thomasville, North Carolina. We offer not only mental health counseling, but college counseling as well. We work with individuals, couples, families, groups, young children, adolescents, adults. We also offer some consultation services. And so we really are trying to partner with community organizations, educational institutions, school systems, groups, nonprofits, really any organization that could use a trained and licensed and certified counselor to come in and facilitate conversations. And so typically those conversations will be around issues that might be really difficult to discuss, or issues that have caused members to be really stagnant in their approach. And so sometimes, we get inquiries about addressing issues related to diversity and equity, social justice, discipline, educational issues, but we also are branching out and working with, area churches around discussing issues related to mental health and how that is discussed within the church. And so really that consultation umbrella is pretty large, okay? And then lastly, health coaching is what the last C stands for, and we hope to be offering health coaching services really soon. So I'm going to jump right into our topic today, which is self-love. I think it's a topic that a lot of us can find our place in, and we all, of course, have experience with self-love. I like to think about self-love as being this unconditional and relentless loving on oneself. And so oftentimes what clients will tell me, or what people will tell me, is that, isn't that unrealistic to love yourself unconditionally and to love yourself relentlessly despite your flaws or your mistakes or your shortcomings? And really what I challenge people who have that response, what I challenge them to do is to really think about, is it that self-love is unrealistic, or is it that it's unfamiliar and scary to you? Or perhaps it's unlearned, it's unrehearsed. And so once you sort through your answers to those questions, it might help you to think of this relentless and unconditional self-love that I'm speaking about. It might help you to think about it as being a lot more realistic, a lot more feasible. Okay. And so today I want to, that's kind of our background, but I want to spend some time talking with you about what hinders us from engaging in this relentless and unconditional self-love. And so one of the first things that I think hinders us from engaging in this type of self-love is the played out messages, or are the played out messages that we tell ourselves. Oftentimes we tell ourselves really phony, played out messages that really do serve us no purpose. Okay. And so whenever you feel those phony or played out messages creeping into your consciousness, I challenge you to refute those messages and to be really adamant in how you refute them. I have to do it for myself. Oftentimes the played out messages to try to creep in for me are related to perfectionism or are related to self-worth or my value as a person, right? And so when we feel those played out messages, right, coming in, we have to actively refute them, because if not, it really hinders our ability to engage in this relentless type of self-love. Okay. Another thing that really hinders us from engaging in self-love is whenever we do the comparison to other people. And as you all know, when we compare ourselves to other people, we can always find someone else who we feel like is better at something than us, or who we feel like is prettier than us, or who we feel like is more successful than us, right? So when you compare yourself to other people, inevitably you're going to measure up as being less than them. That serves you no purpose, right? The only thing that does is it challenges your ability to engage in that self-love, that unconditional and relentless self-love. And so what I challenge you to do is when you feel yourself engaging in those comparisons to other people, to recognize that that's a fallacy too, right? No one can be a better you than you are. There's only one of you, okay? And so when I'm talking with my clients, I tell them, you are an original. You are a classic. You are a legend. There's only one of you. No one can do you better than you can do you. And so when you compare yourself to other people, you measure up short. But when you remember that you are the classic, that you are the standard, you are the gold standard, it might help make that self-love a little bit easier. The other thing to remember about when we engage in this comparison to other people that challenges our ability to love on ourselves, it really goes against this idea that there's enough room for all of us to shine. I truly believe that we are all meant to shine. We're all meant to shine. And so when you remember that you are meant to shine just as much as your neighbor, just as much as anyone else in your workplace or in your circle or in your community, when you remember that you are meant to shine just as much as them, it takes away that competition factor, right? And so just like the stars, we're all meant to shine really brightly. There's enough room for us to all shine brightly. I want you to shine. I want to be able to shine. I want to be able to shine right next to you. I want to be able to feel your warmth. I want to know that when my light begins to flicker out a little bit, when I lose momentum, or when I start feeling like my value is questioned or threatened, I want to know that you're right next to me shining, so I can be encouraged by that. And so just remember, when we start doing the comparison game, it really hinders our ability to love on ourselves. There's enough room for all of us to shine, okay? So resist that temptation to be envious of other people, or to be jealous of other people, to critique yourself too harshly, or to try to measure up to other people. Remember that you are meant to shine too. Okay. And so I really do not mean to throw a bunch of directives your way, but there's one more thing I want to talk about that hinders our ability to love on ourselves. And so one was whenever we start telling ourselves those phony messages, right? That really aren't serving us any purpose. The other is when we're comparing ourselves to other people. But the other is how we're talking to ourselves. So similar to the phony messages that we're telling ourselves, but sometimes just in our everyday lives, we speak negatively over ourselves. We say negative things about ourselves. Oh, I'm so stupid, or that was ridiculous. I can't believe I did that. Whatever it may be. And we do it really casually, and we do it without thinking, and we do it in front of our children without recognizing that they're watching, and without realizing that we're teaching them how to speak to themselves and how to love on themselves. And so one of the things I do is I talk to myself, right? I think a lot of us do. But when I talk with myself, a lot of times I look at myself. And so I look at myself in the mirror. And when I'm looking at myself in the mirror, a lot of what I'm doing is I'm pumping myself up, right? I'm energizing myself. I'm trying to be my biggest fan. I'm boosting my ego. I'm trying to have a really big ego. I am pumping myself up, and I'm encouraging myself, right? And that's the easier part to do for most of us. However, I also dig into myself, and when I dig into myself, I'm letting myself know whenever I'm falling short. I'm calling myself out on my weaknesses or my areas of growth, right? Because when we're engaging in this type of self-love, we recognize that our weaknesses are just as valuable as our strengths. We can learn just as much from our weaknesses as we can from our strengths, because it's relentless self-love. It's unconditional self-love. So our weaknesses or our areas of growth have just as much place in our lives as our strengths do. It's what humanizes us. And so sometimes I'm digging into myself. I'm telling myself, when my work ethic does not match the goals and the vision that I have, when I need to go harder, right? Or when I'm dragging my feet on forgiving myself for something, or I'm dragging my feet on letting something go, or forgiving someone else, okay? And so when I tell you I talk to myself, I'm telling you, yeah, you want to do the boosting and the pumping yourself up and the being your biggest fan. You also want to hold yourself accountable. You also want to recognize those flaws. You also want to recognize your shortcomings. You also want to be able to humanize yourself and show yourself compassion, right? And love on all of you, okay? And so I really don't mean to throw a bunch of directives your way. That's not what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to say do this and don't do that. I'm really just trying to help you to see that this process of loving on yourself unconditionally is a process of a whole lot of consistent daily actions, right? That show our investment in our well-being, in our physical well-being, our emotional well-being, our psychological well-being, our spiritual well-being. It's really us engaging in the act of loving on ourselves over and over and over and over and over again. And so when we do this, when we address all of those things that hinder our ability to love on ourselves, which, just as a recap, are the phony, played out messages that we tell ourselves that are just fooling ourselves. When we, engage in this comparison game to other people, and when we talk to ourselves negatively, all those things hinder our ability to love on ourselves unconditionally. When we address those things, it might just make loving on ourselves a little bit easier for us. But remember, self-love comes easier to some than it does to others. At different phases of our life, it'll be easier than it will be at other phases of our lives. Different circumstances will threaten our ability to love on ourselves unconditionally. And so when I think about circumstances, and God knows I feel like I've had my share of negative circumstances or trials or, things that kind of come in and shake me up. And I think we all do, especially the longer we live, right? We have those experiences, but just remember that your purpose is personalized. And so all of those experiences were meant specifically for you to have, and they are tied specifically to your purpose, and your purpose is your purpose. And so just remember, as you go along this self-love journey, which is fluid and it continues all throughout our lives, just remember who you are and whose you are. Remember, that you are a force to be reckoned with. Know that you are powerful. If you need a reminder, know that you are needed. Know that you are loved. Know that you are wanted. And believing anything else other than that is believing a lie. It really is. It's believing another phony message. So love on yourself hard. Spend some time just alone with yourself. Get comfortable with yourself. Every flaw, outwardly or inwardly, every strength. Show yourself that relentless, unconditional self-love. Recognize whenever you're coming up against something that's hindering your ability to love on yourself. And so I hope this helped to encourage you today. I hope it was short enough just to be a little encouraging or uplifting message for you, and maybe it'll spark some intentional reflections for you on self-love. Please feel free to share it with anyone who you feel like might benefit from it, or hopefully if I can figure out how to save it. Like I said, I'm new to this Facebook jazz stuff. If I can figure out how to save it, then you can refer back to it later. But I hope you will continue to engage in self-love, and try it out, and know that unconditional and that relentless self-love is definitely attainable, but it's something you got to keep working at. Thanks, y'all.